first thing I saw was his bare foot hanging off the side of our bed, and for one stupid half second, I actually felt relieved because it meant he was home. Then I heard her laugh. It was soft, almost swallowed, like she was trying not to be loud in my apartment and my bedroom, with the stupid beige curtains I kept meaning to replace. I stood in the doorway with my overnight bag still on my shoulder, staring at the shape of two people under the sheet I bought at Target 3 months ago, because he said our old ones felt too college. I don't know what expression I made, but he turned and saw me before I said anything. His entire face changed. Not guilty at first, not even shocked, just annoyed, like I'd interrupted something important. "Wait," he said, pushing himself up on one elbow. She rolled over and grabbed the sheet to her chest, and I recognized her before my brain fully caught up. Dana, my friend from work. Not best friend, not maid of honor level close, but close enough that she'd sat across from me at happy hour 2 Thursdays ago and told me I deserved a man who made me feel secure. For a second, nobody moved. My keys slid out of my hand and hit the floor. The insane part is that my first thought wasn't rage, it was logistics. I'd come home a day early from visiting my mom because she'd had a medication reaction and then bounced back faster than expected. I texted him from the train when I boarded, but he never answered. I told myself he was probably in the shower or napping after the gym. I even bought him that overpriced jerky he likes from the station because I felt bad we'd been weird lately. We'd been weird for a month, maybe longer. Nothing dramatic enough to justify a breakup. Just tiny things that stacked up until I felt crazy for noticing them. He started taking his phone into the bathroom. He suddenly cared about making the bed every morning, which would have been sweet if he hadn't spent 2 years living like a raccoon. He'd ask oddly specific questions about my schedule. "What time are you leaving work Friday? Your mom still wants you there the whole weekend? Did you say your train back was Sunday night or Monday morning?" He also started being nicer in this polished, deliberate way, bringing me coffee exactly how I like it, touching the small of my back when friends were around, calling me baby more often, which sounds ridiculous, but if you've dated someone long enough, you know when a word is being used like a prop. I noticed Dana too, but only in a way that felt embarrassing to admit. She'd started texting me outside work more, sending me reels, asking whether Marcus was coming to office drinks. Once, when the three of us ended up at the same bar after a coworker's birthday, she laughed way too hard at a story he told about getting locked out in college. Later, in the Uber home, I asked him if he thought she flirted with everybody like that. He shrugged. "You do this thing," he said. "What thing?" "Where you decide something is off and then collect evidence for it." That shut me up because honestly, he wasn't completely wrong. I have done that. My last relationship ended because I found out 6 months in that he'd been messaging his ex innocently, and ever since then I've had this ugly habit of checking tones, patterns, pauses. I'll hear a change in someone's voice and build an entire courtroom in my head. Marcus knew that. He'd held me while I cried about how humiliating it felt to become suspicious and sharp and needy. And so when I found a wine glass in the sink on a Wednesday when he told me he'd gone to bed at 9:30, I let it go. When Dana mentioned casually that she'd finally seen your place after dropping off a file he forgot at work, I let that go too, even though he'd never told me she came by. When his gym shirt smelled faintly like my bergamot candle one morning, I actually apologized to him for being distant. That's probably the part that will make people hate me. I saw pieces, I just kept arranging them into a shape I could live with. Not standing in the doorway, though, there was no arranging anything. Dana wouldn't look at me. She had mascara smudged under one eye. Marcus sat up fully and reached for his boxers from the floor. "Don't," I said, and my voice came out weirdly calm. "Actually, don't put those on yet. I want to make sure I'm understanding the situation correctly." He froze. Dana whispered, "Oh my God!" And I laughed, which sounded unhinged even to me. "No, seriously, because maybe this is one of those things where I'm collecting evidence again." "Lena," Marcus said, in that careful tone people use when they think they're the adult in the room. "Can we talk in the living room?" I looked at him, then at her. "Are you out of your mind?" Dana started crying then, quietly, which made me angrier than if she'd been defiant. I know tears are human and all that, but there is something deeply infuriating about someone crying because they got caught hurting you. I dropped my bag and walked over to my dresser because I needed to do something with my hands. My jewelry tray was slightly crooked. One of my perfume bottles had been moved. Tiny details, stupid details, but they made me feel like I was floating outside my body. "How long?" I asked. Neither answered. I turned around. "How long?" Dana swallowed. "It wasn't..." Marcus cut in. "A few weeks." And there it was, Not a drunken mistake, not one reckless night, a few weeks, delivered in the same tone you'd use to admit you forgot to pay the electric bill. A few weeks, I repeated. In my bed? He rubbed his face. It just happened here today. That sentence made me see red, not because I believed him, but because it was so insulting in its selectiveness. As if the location was the real betrayal and not the entire situation. Dana said, I told him this was wrong. I actually said, wow, out loud, because what do you even do with that? Congratulations on your ethics consultation while sleeping with my boyfriend. Marcus stood up then, boxers in hand, and took one step toward me. Nothing was supposed to happen today. You weren't coming back until tomorrow. There was a silence after that. Heavy, ugly, clarifying. He seemed to realize what he'd said only after it landed. I stared at him. So you planned this? No, that's not. You just said you thought I was gone. I mean, yes, but... Dana covered her face. I wish I could say I threw things or screamed or slapped him. I didn't. I did something that still makes me feel pathetic and mean in equal measure. I looked at Dana and asked, was it worth it? She lowered her hands. Her face was blotchy and wrecked and weirdly young-looking. I don't know, she said. And that, more than anything else, is what has stayed with me. Not, I'm sorry, not, no, just, I don't know. Because it was honest. Maybe cruelly honest, but honest. Honest enough that part of me hates her less than him. She wasn't pretending. Marcus was already shifting into management mode, trying to control damage. It wasn't about you, he said. I almost smiled. That's such a crazy thing to tell the person standing in front of you. He said my name again, softer this time, and I snapped. Not loud, just sharp. Get out. He blinked. This is my place too. It is, technically. We split rent, though the lease is in my name because his credit was bad when we moved in. That's another detail people will latch onto. Yes, I knew his finances were a mess. Yes, I kept making practical excuses for emotional problems. Then go be in your half somewhere else for an hour, I said. Both of you. I can't look at either of you. Dana got dressed first. She couldn't meet my eyes on the way out. Marcus lingered, trying 3 different approaches in under a minute. Apology, explanation, irritation. It wasn't serious. Clearly, it was serious enough to take your clothes off. You and I have been off for months. Then you break up with me, Marcus? He looked tired then, almost resentful. It's not that simple. I remember saying, it actually was, until you made it this. After they left, I stripped the bed, then sat on the mattress frame because there was nowhere else to sit. He'd texted by the time I made it to the fitted sheet. Marcus, I'm sorry. I handled this horribly. Dana, I never meant to become this person. I didn't answer either of them. Instead, I called my sister, who said exactly what sisters are supposed to say. Change the locks, dump his stuff, block them both. Then she came over with garbage bags and wine, and enough outrage for both of us. But here's where it gets messy, and where people will probably divide. Marcus came back the next morning because half his things were there, and because apparently he didn't want to end 8 years like this. 8 years. We've been together since 24. There is no version of my adult life that doesn't have him in it somewhere. He cried, which I'd only seen maybe twice before. He admitted it started emotionally first. Lunches that turned into drinks, complaining about me, complaining about him, feeling seen. I almost threw up when he said that. Then he said something I can't stop turning over in my head. I think I wanted to get caught. Not as an excuse, more like a confession. He said he'd been too cowardly to say he was unhappy, too dependent to leave cleanly, too selfish to stop. He said maybe some part of him chose the apartment, chose the timing, chose Dana because it guaranteed the whole thing would finally explode. And the worst part is, I believed him. Not because it made him sympathetic, because it made him familiar. I have stayed in things after they were already dead. I have picked fights when I wanted permission to leave. I have withheld tenderness instead of telling the truth. Not this, never this. But enough that I recognize the shape of it. He's been sleeping on his brother's couch for 4 nights now. Dana took PTO and hasn't answered anyone at work except our manager. HR already knows some vague version because office gossip moves faster than fire. My sister thinks I'm clinically insane for even speaking to either of them again. But yesterday I found out Dana told one person at work that she thought Marcus and I were basically over before anything physical happened, which is not true. We were strained, yes, not over. And now I'm sitting with this new layer of humiliation where I don't know if she believed that because he told her or because she needed to. Marcus keeps asking if we can talk without other people's voices in it. I haven't blocked him. That alone will probably be enough for strangers to decide I deserve whatever happens next. Maybe they'd be right. All I know is I walked into my own bedroom and saw a version of my life end in real time. And somehow that still wasn't the end of the story.